Oklahoma lawmakers love NIL, Ted. They love it. The Oklahoma House and
Yay.
Senate overrode. Is that right? Overrode?
Have overridden. I like
Have
that.
have overridden Kevin Stitt's veto. And when you look at what does this mean? What does this not mean? You you still are not supposed to just walk up to high school recruits and hand them bricks of money. That that's not how it's supposed to work. But the new state law prohibits the NCAA from coming down on an institution that is working with an NIL entity, right? The language is the NCAA is prohibited from coming down on institutions involving protected NIL activities. And athletic departments are now legally allowed to throw their power behind preferred collectives. So that can be a collective. It can also be a university foundation, which is very interesting. So, Ted, now Brent Venables can come out and tell people directly without punishment, hey, give to this. This is how you can help. Give to this. You don't have to tap dance around that anymore, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah, no, that's good. And, I think a lot of this, like the way this has all gone, they followed pretty closely what Texas has done, legally and in some of the different aspects that they've done. And yeah, I think the biggest thing is that donors now, fans now, will be able to give to, NIL, depending how it's all set up and when they announce all that and everything. But I think it's going to be able to be a charitable contribution, which is big time. That changes the game for a lot of the big donors that we really need in the game to be able to compete with some of the bigger collectives across the country. And the fact that it looks like they're going to be able to do that now is awesome. And I believe that because of the way that the bill is written, it becomes active immediately, right? So
Yeah.
even though it hasn't all passed and gone through the whatever the full range of action that it needs to in the legislature, it is enacted now to where they can start, following those new guidelines immediately.
So I was curious as to what it meant for donors, right? So I asked what type of benefits the university was able to provide for donors that give to the collective or the OU Foundation or wherever the university is going to want all of this to run through. And basically, the answer I got back was they get a tax credit, but this is the quote: tax credit, but not yet other tangible items, i.e., ticket related benefits. They said we are looking into creating unique experiences as part of a benefit that's allowable. That got my wheels turning a little bit. And I know I've talked to some other people that have had a similar idea, but really the way that I think this will all end up working in a perfect world is it's the university's foundation working directly with the donors. The donors give to it, right? The coaching staff is involved in how all that money is going to be allocated and dispersed, right? You basically develop a salary cap, right? And I know it sounds weird, but this is just the college football we're living in now. And this is how I would do it. You have 8 to 10 people that basically become like owners of an NFL team. It's like, hey, if you give X amount, you can come to all these practices. Hell, you can sit in on meetings if you want to. You can come to the big recruiting events, meet all these guys. You get X, Y, and Z for OU Texas. Like that, you become almost a stakeholder for an annual contribution of X amount for X amount of years. And basically you sell it as like, hey, if you do this, you are in this very exclusive club and you become one of the stakeholders of OU football, or what. I'm sure they could come up with a better word than that. But I think that would be a good way to approach it. Now, you want to get all the donations you can get, right? From everyone, from anyone that's willing to give. You definitely want to do that. But I think you could create an experience package for some big time donors that would be very interesting for them, because people love exclusive clubs, Ted. They love them.
Yeah, I mean, it's how many times do we get asked kind of the same thing? Like, what's it like to come out of the tunnel at OU Texas? Well, lead the team out. You make the right donation, you lead the team out of the tunnel.
Maybe not the whole team, but maybe lead the team out. Maybe lead the specialists out that are going out first,
right,
to kick,
lead them out for walkthrough. But just whatever those type of those cool moments may be. Yeah, I think that's awesome, and yeah, we'll see where it goes. I think this hopefully is. It's been tough on Oklahoma. It's actually
we know too much. We know too much.
It's a good thing, but it's also a point of frustration that a lot of times it feels like Oklahoma is really slow to act. Josie is he's very good at playing the long game and doing things the right way instead of rushing in, putting all your eggs in one basket before you have the proper legislation there, before you know really what the future is going to hold. Like, we want everything now. We want it immediately. Josie he's very good at being patient and kind of letting things play out. And I feel like because of that, they've got themselves into a really good spot here, and hopefully, should be able to build this into one of the better collectives in the country. So I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be great. And, with the way that Coach Venables has a vision for it, for the money to be spent and implemented, the way he thinks about it is, I think, unique to kind of the rest of college football. And if they're able to get it done the way that he has envisioned it, then I think it's going to be really well done.
Yeah, it seems like this allows the university to have a larger role in this entire process. And there's a debate to be had about whether the university using a licensing deal and taking their piece, like, is that fair to the players? And that, I think there's a balance there, right? Where the players can be benefiting from the logo, from all that stuff in some of these marketing type things. So we'll see how that ends up working out. But I would assume the leadership at OU, they're going to want this all running through one thing that they've got a lot of control over. So I don't know if that's going to be the OU Foundation. I don't know what happens with Crimson and Cream, that collective. I don't know how that's all going to work, but I would assume that they're going to want it running through one thing to make it as simple on the fan base as possible.
Yeah. I think that's been a problem, not just at OU, but at a bunch of different places, is maybe indecision or fans not knowing where to go with their money.
Yeah, like, who do I give my money to? Where's it going? Who's controlling this? Like, that's been an issue for sure all across the country.
And whenever that the university is in on it, and they're doing it for a reason. They're not a out of stater trying to swoop in and make a quick buck off of a fan base that's trying to put a collective together. Right? they're doing it the right way.
Yeah, I would. If it's not against any rules, I would anticipate everything going through the OU Foundation. But we'll see how this ends up developing. That there's definitely a plan. So we'll see what it ends up looking like. One other thing about the law, I just want everyone to know the law also allows for basically anyone to represent these athletes here in the state of Oklahoma as an agent. Before, the representation was supposed to be, limited to attorneys or agents that were certified, stuff like that. Now it seems like anybody can be their agent. All of us. Let's make sure these kids don't get taken advantage of. Right. And I think this is in place for, a parent or an aunt or uncle or someone to be able to handle this, or a cousin, whatever, right? To make it easier for the school to communicate with the players about all the NIL stuff. And I get that, but let's just all work together and make sure these kids are getting taken care of the way they should be getting taken care of. That's now those young men, they gotta make smart choices, right? You can't hold their hand through everything, right? They're adults. I know we refer to them as kids a lot, but they're adults. But I think as a fan base, we should do our best to make sure, it's the best way to put it, everything passes the sniff test with this
Right.
stuff when it comes to these guys' representation. Let's look out for them collectively as a community, shall we?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And yeah, because there could be a lot of people acting as representatives of players that are not actually representatives of players, perhaps. Like, I don't know. That does seem like uh, a, a, a scary way to go about things, perhaps. But yeah, let's all remember what it is exactly. We're trying to look out for the best interest of the players, trying to get them in a good position. Like, we want this for these guys. We want this for our football program. Let's be a part of it on the positive side, not the negative.
Yeah. Anything else with that law getting passed that you think significant? But really, it's just how the collective or foundation, whatever, how that whole thing's going to operate, and then the little agent piece. Other than that, it just seems like the university's a bit of a sigh of relief, right?
Well, yeah, and I know that some people think that now that the university is going to be able to be involved in it, that this means maybe there'll be less there for the players. 100% totally not true. The university, you got to imagine the alternative, right? Where you've got people out there that, yeah, there's going to be collectives that are put together and done the right way, and people want to provide the most for these players. But a lot of times it's going to be, how can I make money off this myself? So the fact that the universities are going to be involved, I think is the best way to make sure that it's run reasonably, that these deals, whatever the NIL opportunity is done properly, is vetted right. I just, when the university is behind it, because they know ultimately, right, we go as the football program goes. Like, we need this thing to work. Right, the University of Oklahoma is not going to screw around on an NIL deal to make a couple of quick bucks and put in question the football program or athletes because of that. So, I put that myth to bed. Like, this is by far the best way to do it.
Yeah. The university, they're going to want their piece, right? They're going to want their piece when it comes to some of the things that involve licensing, the logo, guys in jerseys, like that type of stuff. But I do think, and there's probably a debate to be had about it, but I do think them being involved and being able to contact donors and sponsors that have been loyal to the university year after year after year, them being able to go into that Rolodex and try to connect players with those people and create some NIL opportunities for the players. I think that makes the university getting their piece worth it for those guys.
Well, and this is what those donors want, right?
Yes.
Those donors want to do it through the university where there's trust, where, you know, they've donated a lot of money. They understand like the give and take, like how this whole thing plays out. So yeah, this is absolutely the way to do it for sure.